So I want to start by having you tell us, obviously one of the storylines last week was Alex Eala and the massive crowds that she was bringing to Dubai, which is not a tournament
And
that
everywhere else that she plays.
yes, and
right?
everywhere else that she plays. I think it was perhaps maybe more notable there
Right,
because
right.
that's not a tournament that is typically packed to the gills.
Last year, she needed a wild card just to earn her place through the door. This year, the Miami Open sold out every seat associated with her name before she had even touched down on American soil. Alex Eala is returning to the court that changed everything for her. But the dynamic this time around could not be more different. The tournament is no longer doing her any favors. She is the one doing favors for the tournament, and the WTA is still quietly grappling with exactly what that means for the future of the sport. Drop a comment below. Do you believe Alex Eala can go deeper than her remarkable 2025 semifinal run this year, or does the pressure of defending ranking points and stepping into the tournament as a seeded player present an entirely different and more demanding kind of challenge? Tell us exactly what you think. But before we move forward, let us take just a moment to fully appreciate how completely and utterly the script has been rewritten. 12 months ago, she was an unknown quantity, a wild card hoping simply to belong. Today, she is the reason the tournament sells out. She is the reason the center court is buzzing before a single ball has been struck. She is the reason directors like James Blake are making headlines and tournaments like Indian Wells are scrambling to recover from her absence. Not only did she reach the semifinals in 2025, she redefined what was thought possible for a player of her profile and experience. And if the energy surrounding her return is any indication, the world has not seen anything yet.
Only you in the semi-final of 1,000. You're now a top 100 tennis player. What's going through your mind at the moment, Alex?
It's such a huge jump, but I don't know. My mind is really blank now. I don't think I've processed what I've just done. But in the end, I'm still the same player I was 2 weeks ago, so it's weird because so much has changed, yet nothing really changed.
Here is the rewritten version. 12 months ago, Alex Eala sat at 140th in the world rankings. She was absent from the Miami Open draw entirely. She held no seed, no guaranteed pathway through qualifying, and no automatic right to a place in the main draw. Her entry came by way of a wild card, meaning the tournament extended her an invitation as an act of goodwill rather than obligation. That was how the tennis world perceived her heading into the 2025 Miami Open. A youngster brimming with potential, a wild card entry worth keeping an eye on perhaps, but certainly not a name around which anyone was building their schedule or planning their season. Then she defeated August Swiatek, then Madison Keys, then Yelena Ostapenko, then received a walkover from Paula Badosa in the round of 16, then pushed Jessica Pegula to the full distance of 3 sets in the semifinals before finally succumbing 7-6, 5-7, 6-3. From wild card entry to semifinalist. From ranked 140th to ranked 75th in the live standings by the time she walked off that court. From the tournament letting her in, to the tournament needing her to be there. All within the span of 2 extraordinary weeks, at just 19 years old. And now she is back. Except the terms have changed entirely. Miami is no longer doing Alex Eala any favors. This time around, Alex Eala is the one doing Miami a favor simply by showing up. Entering as the 32nd seed in a field that includes Swiatek, defending champion Aryna Sabalenka, and Coco Gauff, she arrives with a first-round bye and match assignments being relocated to larger courts because the demand surrounding her specific matchups is simply outgrowing what the smaller venues can physically contain. Seed allocations were selling out before the draw had even been fully processed. The WTA has been watching all of this unfold, and the organization's reaction can best be described as the institutional equivalent of someone who confidently declared a stock was going nowhere, only to watch it hit all-time highs on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday afternoon. A little caught off guard, a little uncertain of what to say next, and very clearly scrambling to get out ahead of a narrative that has already moved well past them. Because here is the fundamental truth about the WTA as an organization. They are benefiting enormously from what Alex Eala is doing for the sport. Her matches are generating viewership figures that the tour's own established stars are not consistently producing. Her practice sessions are drawing the kinds of crowds that tournaments typically only witness during the latter stages of competition. Her social media engagement has reached the level that major sponsors invest serious resources to be associated with. A single recent practice video accumulated over 94,000 views within a 24-hour window. That is not merely a player building a profile. That is a content engine operating at full power. And yet, throughout the better part of the past year, the WTA's institutional posture toward her rise amounted to treating it as a pleasant and welcome surprise rather than something the organization had actively cultivated or supported. She was ranked 140th. She arrived on a wild card. She went on a run. Compelling story. Next. That was the energy emanating from the establishment in the wake of her 2025 Miami Open performance, acknowledging the achievement without fully leaning into its implications, celebrating the moment without committing to what it signaled about the direction the sport was heading. She now sits ranked 32nd in the world with a career high of 28th and still climbing. She enters WTA 1000 events as a seeded player. She arrives at Miami with a first-round bye, sold-out seat allocations, and a fan base that monitors her tournament schedule with the intensity typically reserved for national sporting events. The WTA can no longer afford to frame this as a pleasant surprise. This is the new reality, and the organization is being compelled to adjust to a player who arrived faster and hit harder than anyone in their planning meetings had apparently anticipated. The numbers behind the seat demand deserve careful attention because they tell a genuinely remarkable story. Alexandra Eala is 20 years old. She holds one Grand Slam singles victory to her name, her first-round win at last summer's U.S. Open. She has not yet claimed a WTA title. By the conventional markers used to measure tennis star power, she remains firmly in the opening chapters of her career. And yet the commercial response her presence generates at Miami rivals that which the tournament reserves for its most marquee attractions. That gap between where her results technically position her in the rankings and how the broader market is actually responding to her presence represents the single most fascinating dynamic in women's tennis at this moment. It speaks to something the ranking system is structurally incapable of capturing. It speaks to connection, to identity, and to the specific and profoundly powerful thing that occurs when a player comes to represent a community that has not historically had someone to rally behind at the highest levels of the sport. The Philippine tennis fan base did not exist in its current form 5 years ago. Not because the Philippines lacks passion for sport, it most certainly does not, but because there was no one to serve as an anchor for that passion within the world of tennis. Alexandra Eala provided that anchor, and the response has been the kind of sustained, organized, and emotionally invested fandom that most sports organizations would spend tens of millions of marketing dollars attempting to manufacture artificially. Hers arrived organically, built point by point and match by match through nothing other than earned performance. So when seed allocations sell out before she has struck a single ball in Miami, that is not coincidence. That is a community mobilizing. That is thousands of people who feel personally and deeply invested in her story, ensuring they are inside the building when the next chapter is written. Now, let us consider what she is actually walking into at this tournament, because the stakes are considerably higher than they might appear from the outside. The 390 ranking points she accumulated during her 2025 semifinal run are now due to be defended. That is the mechanics of the WTA ranking system at work. Points carry an expiration date of 1 year, and falling short of a previous performance at the same tournament results in a ranking drop regardless of what a player has accomplished elsewhere in the interim. For a player in Eala's current position, those 390 points represent a meaningful portion of what is anchoring her inside the top 30. Failing to reach the semifinals this year means a drop in the rankings. Surpassing that milestone means a rise, potentially into the top 20 for the first time in her career. That is genuine pressure. The kind of pressure that reshapes how a player approaches an entire tournament, manages energy across multiple rounds, and thinks about the weight carried by each individual match. Last year, she had nothing whatsoever to defend and everything imaginable to gain. Every victory was an unexpected bonus. Every upset was a revelation. The complete absence of external expectation was its own quiet form of freedom. She could walk onto the court against Swiatek as a wild card with 0 points to protect and simply play tennis. This year, she is the 32nd seed. She is expected to be present in the later rounds. A first or second round exit is not. It is a headline, a result that would have been considered a respectable tournament run given her 2025 entry status now registers as an underperformance. That shift is the price of success, and it is a very real one. But there is another side to that equation. Eala herself has spoken about it in a manner that suggests she not only understands the shift, but has genuinely made peace with it. She stated ahead of Miami that she knows she belongs here, that regardless of whether she wins the tournament or exits in the opening round, she is here to stay. That is not manufactured confidence or rehearsed public bravado. That is a player who has absorbed enough experience, weathered enough difficult losses, and accumulated enough high-level match time over the past 12 months that her belief in her own place within the sport is firmly and authentically grounded. The experience base she has constructed since the 2025 Miami run is substantial. She advanced to the Indian Wells round of 16 as the 31st seed. She pushed Coco Gauff, ranked 4th in the world, to the point of retirement before the match could be concluded. She has registered victories over multiple top 50 players. She has a Grand Slam main draw win. She has competed in significant matches within significant environments and produced results that speak for themselves. None of that was handed to her. She built every piece of it match by match across a year that demanded consistent performance while her ranking, her public profile, and the weight of expectation placed upon her all expanded simultaneously. Most players who experience a breakthrough moment on the scale of the 2025 Miami Open encounter some degree of regression in the period that follows, as the pressure of sustaining a new standard begins to take its toll. Eala's trajectory has continued, pointing upward. The Indian Wells tournament also provided useful information heading into Miami. Her defeat at the hands of Linda Noskova in the round of 16 was a convincing 6-2, 6-0, which confirms that there are levels above her current game capable of overwhelming her when the conditions align correctly. Noskova is a physically imposing ball striker who can dictate a match in ways that neutralize the pace Eala prefers to generate. Identifying those vulnerabilities and developing the tools to address them is precisely what the next phase of her evolution demands. But prior to that loss, she was managing the tournament's pressure with composure and purpose. She won her early rounds. She reached the round of 16 at a WTA 1000 event as a seeded competitor. The defeat was clear, but it was not a collapse. It was a talented player encountering a specific challenge she was not yet fully equipped to solve on that particular day, the most ordinary thing that happens in professional tennis. Miami presents a different draw, different surface conditions, and a different emotional context for Eala entirely. This is her court. Hard Rock Stadium is where her story found its most defining moment. The crowd there knows her. The atmosphere there has been shaped around her in a way that does not replicate itself at any other stop on the tour. That familiarity is a legitimate and tangible advantage. The prospect of a rematch with Swiatek is what the entire tennis world is watching the draw to determine. Swiatek has endured a difficult stretch of weeks, falling to Alina Svitolina at Indian Wells and publicly navigating some uncertainty around her form. A Swiatek who arrives at a tournament carrying doubts about her own game, facing a player who defeated her at this same event 12 months earlier, is a considerably more vulnerable version of the world number one than most opponents ever encounter. The psychological edge belongs to Eala in that matchup, and both players are fully aware of it. Sabalenka arrives as defending champion and one of the most physically formidable competitors on the tour. Gauff carries her own form questions stemming from the Indian Wells retirement. The draw is layered and filled with players capable of winning the title. Eala is seeded 32nd, meaning a difficult bracket alignment could produce serious tests early in the competition. But she has navigated serious tests before. She was ranked 140th on a wild card and defeated 3 Grand Slam champions across 2 weeks. The magnitude of a challenge has never been the thing that stops her. What stops her is a specific opponent on a specific day when the matchup does not fall in her favor. Everything else, the crowd, the expectation, the pressure of defending points, the sold-out seats, the tournament relocating her matches to accommodate the overflow of demand. None of it appears to register as a burden to her. Miami sold out her seats before she had played a single point. The WTA is recalibrating in response to what she has become. And she showed up anyway, focused, composed, and prepared to make the 2025 semifinal run look like a preview rather than a peak. From wildcard entry to sold-out seats in 12 months. Alex Eala is no longer simply a tennis story. She is a phenomenon. If you believe she goes deeper than the 2025 semifinals this time around, hit that like button, subscribe for continued coverage, and drop your Miami prediction in the comments below. The Filipina queen is back, and Miami already knows it.